Okay, so without further ado, let's start this off. So welcome everyone. My name is Elad Levy. I'm the VP Marketing and Products here at Fixel. We've done quite a bit of digging and exploring into what is happening in that kind of tremendous feud that's happening between Apple and Facebook. And given all the investigation done, we figured we'd share some of our insights into what this looks like, what this would have as an impact on advertising, and how we believe you can better expect and implement specific tactics to continue driving fantastic results within your campaigns. So this is the scope of what we'll be talking about today. So we'll start soon, and Etgar, the CEO of Fixel, will talk about the different changes that are happening within Facebook app and Apple devices. He's also going to give some actionable tips of how this is going to affect your campaigns and how you can really try and make the most out of them still. Etgar holds under his belt quite a few years in online advertising, so I'm sure his experience will really come into play when we're talking about these changes. Then we also have here Yehushua from Modli. Yehushua is a CTO and co-founder of Modli. We'll introduce him down the line later. But he has experience running a global operation, working in multiple different geos with really very high ticket accounts. So he'll explain a bit about what they're doing, how they're preparing for the next day, and also share some of his wisdom and experience. We'll close off with a special offer for Fixel and Q&A with Etgar. So any specific questions you want to dive into, you can ask them as we go along. We'll try to address them throughout the presentation, but ones that we don't have specific answers within the presentation, you can answer at the end, and we'll try to tackle them specifically. So just a quick and rather shameless plug of what Fixel is. This has been our lifelong dream for the past, I say, 3 years now. Fixel is an engagement solution for advertisers. Any decent advertiser can identify his traffic and segment specifically the high value users. For example, if you have anyone who's purchased on your website, these are very easy to highlight and really act on these people. Similarly, anyone who's added a product to their cart is very easy to act on. You can easily identify, add them to dynamic marketing campaigns or whichever other kind of tactics, and act on these users. And reality is that the reminder of the users on your website, some 90% of users are very hard to distinguish. They do distribute in some way, but it's really hard to put the finger on really those ones with the higher value. What we've done at Fixel is create an algorithm that analyzes multiple different data points in real time. We're looking at engagement signals from the products engaged with, the type of devices, where they're coming in the world, and all these different other actions that they're doing on the website, and crunching all these to actually point out and highlight these high-value users. So instead of working on tons of different users that aren't driving value to your business, you can highlight the specific ones that are closer to conversions, the one that you really want to be targeting in your marketing, your lookalike, and other campaigns. And by doing so, keep fantastic ROAS, you won't lose scale, and really bring that kind of extra punch into your marketing campaigns. So that's Fixel in a very kind of quick overview. We'd love to have you on board. So if you want to learn more about Fixel, you can feel free to join us and ask any question you want. Shoot us an email. We'll show the email down the line later. So here we can see already Etgar has joined in. Etgar is the CEO of Fixel. Fixel has recently been acquired by Logic just a couple of months ago. He's a senior marketing executive. He has some almost 20 years of online marketing experience from the very early days of Google and really any platform launched since. He's been recognized by PPC Hero as one of the top influencers to follow. And he's also in academia. He's been lecturing and teaching really decades of students now in all different positions across the industry. So I'll hand over the mic to Etgar. So Etgar, take the lead.
Thank you very much for this intro, Elad. And Let me just share my screen. So normally we really don't do it, but I want to start with a huge disclaimer for everything that we're talking here. This situation is something I think we never seen before. Everything that we're going to share now is based on data by Facebook, data with tons of Facebook representatives and high ticket spenders, and including all the researchers. But I think there are a huge amount of changes on an hourly basis. So please keep track. We're going to share with you some links later on that's going to explain at least everything that we know and going to be updated. So, but I really hope and I believe that this webinar will give you a glimpse of what's happening. So starting with those pictures, eventually what we've seen in the recent months is eventually the perfect storm around digital marketing, around privacy. We have seen the leaders of the largest tech companies spending more time in the Senate and in the Congress than in their offices. We have seen regulation changes like GDPR in Europe, CCPA in California, and effectively on the US. We have seen the public talking about privacy. We have seen the movies in Netflix. We have seen the reaction of people to the changes in WhatsApp. And eventually, what is going on here is that we're seeing that the ad platform is changing and we're seeing that the browsers are changing. What we're going to talk today in this webinar will be focused on this small and huge change. This is eventually, all this blocking is part of a Apple change that's going to happen very soon and going to block most of the data being sent to Facebook and other ad platforms. We're talking here on the fight between Apple in one side and Facebook in the other side. Apple try to and definitely try to represent the privacy. Facebook try to represent the users and the businesses. And we're seeing the struggle just in the recent, think like in the last week. Mark Zuckerberg in the Facebook quarterly report stated Apple as the largest competitor of Facebook. We're seeing Facebook publishing ads in the New York Times, in the Washington Post, against the changes that Apple is doing. We're seeing Apple reacting and saying that Facebook is constantly violating the user's privacy. We're seeing only the beginning of the war between those two. And the war between those two is actually going into a new three-word buzzwords that you probably going to be familiar very soon. One, in the Facebook side, it will be the AEM, aggregated event measurement. On the Apple side, it's going to be the PCM, private click measurement. Eventually, both of them saying some of the users will be tracked, some won't be tracked. For the users who will be tracked, we're going to see, as advertiser, campaign level reporting, all our conversion data going to be delayed. It will be almost no possibility to see real-time data according to actions within websites. Again, focusing only on websites in this webinar. And we're going to see a lot of limit around the data that being sent with the conversions. So in the first part, I want to summarize the main changes that we're going to see within the upcoming sorry, the main changes that we're going to see within Facebook and Apple. Those changes going to be for users that opt in, the users that actually agreed to be tracked. We're going to see a limit of 8 optimization events for each domain. It means that if a brand have a uk.domain.com and us.domain.com and ca.domain.com, all of them together will be able to send 8 events. Of course, they can do, they can send 1 million hits of the same events, but they can send only 8 events to Facebook. It means that the event will need to be prioritized. You will have to say to Facebook, this is my top priority, this is the most important event, and those are the least important event. In case that user will be opt out, only the highest priority event will be reported. And all the data, like we wrote within the PCM and the AEM, going to be delayed in 24 to 48 hours. This is eventually the technical changes. When we're talking about what happened with the users who will opt out, we will see modeled conversions. It means that, for example, if you have purchased, or in this is a screenshot by Facebook, here it refers to the mobile app installs, we will see them modeled. It means that Facebook won't know that you had 200, 300 purchases, but Facebook will estimate the number of purchases that you're going to have. To the question, according to what we're understanding now, the answer is yes, even if the users opt out. Please note that you will get the reporting within the campaign level. You won't get it within the ad set level or within the ad level. And everyone, please, if you have questions, please add them to the Q&A and not to the chat button, not to the chat and not to the chat window. For all the e-commerce marketers that going to work on value-based optimization, Facebook won't deliver the value, Apple won't deliver the value into Facebook. Instead of this, we're going to see 4 value sets. They will be between your lowest, the product with the lowest price, up to the product with the highest price within your e-commerce store. Mean that if you have, for example, products between 100 to 1000, you will see like 100 to 250, 250 to 500, 500 to 750, and 750 to 1000. Note that within those 8 events, those value group will take 4 slots of those 8 events. Eric, yes. You can decide what is the priority event. Just note that after you change the priority event, you need to wait 72 hours that they will be updated. Regarding the effect on custom conversion, according to what we estimate now, we still have a lot of open question. According to what we know, there won't necessarily be a value of the URL delivered to Facebook, especially when it's going to be blocked. The attribution window. Many marketers already seen that the 28 days disappear. The 28 days already disappear, and we're going to see that the only attribution window that we're going to have will be the 1-day click and view, and a 7-day click. This is eventually the data that we're going to have. Eric asked if those changes going to affect all the platforms. Right now, according to the according to what Facebook is saying, this will be only to the blocked users. In a close conversations and within some of the Facebook events, Facebook is aiming that the AEM protocol, which is a bit softer than the way more limited PCM by Apple, will be eventually for all the platforms. So we don't know when, but this is something we definitely need to prepare. Technically, right now, this will be only to the Apple users. In addition to those changes, and it's definitely have its effects, Facebook already published that they're going to limit the number of ads for each Facebook page. Remember, before we talk about domain, now we talk about limit of the number of ads per page. Now, what is happening is that we as advertiser going to have way less possibility to play with our campaigns, with our ads. Note that the 250 ad limit is for advertisers running less than 100K, and advertiser that running up to million will have 1,000 ads. Now summarizing eventually the changes that we knew. The changes that we knew. Sorry. The changes that we knew until January 31st. Eventually, the law changed. It's really important to understand. Up until now, and technically until now, when a user go into a Facebook site that have its pixel, by default, Facebook is getting the data. This ID got into this website and he did A, B, C. He saw 2 page views, he engaged, a pixel site engaged, he added to cart and he make a purchase. If user want to opt out, right now, he have to actively doing it. You have to actively do it. The standard, the default going to be that the tracking is opt out. The users have to actively opt in. And this is a huge difference. And I will say that everyone in the industry still waiting to see this ballpark number. What is the average number of users that actually blocking? If it will be 30%, there won't be any huge changes. The industry planning to 70 up to 80% of the people who are going to block the tracking on their activity. The number of event, right now we can send as many events as we want. We're going to have a limit to 8. The number of event we can optimize. Eventually, right now, if you're an e-commerce advertiser, you can choose one campaign for purchase, one for to cart, and one for page view. You're going to have for your website conversion only one optimization event for each domain. Regarding the website custom audiences, right now, eventually every user who logged in to the browsers go directly into your audiences. We know they're going to shrink. We still don't know the exact number. There will be an impact. Still don't know if it will be as severe as all the blocking or some of them will go in. Going into the number of events, many advertisers have some ad agencies, have some campaigners that going into their ad account, and each one of them have their own methodology. Think of advertisers that running lead ads. You have a lot of lead events. Eventually, up to now, there is no limit on this. Right now, under the same domain, everyone will have to work together in order to be under those limits. I'm going to tell here something. This is not by Facebook. This is our assumption. We also expect to see some limit of the number of campaign. The reason that we're saying it, because once that, according to the ATT, the environment for apps, there is already a limit of 9 campaigns with 5 ads at each. It won't be any surprise to anyone that we will see a limit of the number of campaigns per domain. This is something we need to prepare. Right now, there is no limit. But when we see that the new changes that we're going to talk about, this is something we can definitely prepare to see. Need to prepare to see. And we built this presentation last week. Then last night, Apple eventually announced on a new version of their protocol. Apple is responding to all the pushback she's getting from the industry. And this is not only Facebook, this is Google, this is advertiser. A lot of marketers criticize Apple for eventually not allow them to run their ads. So Apple made some changes. It happened yesterday, and they actually published the 14.5 iOS version for beta testing. The main changes that we're seeing is before this change, the ability to track was 64 campaign. Now they're allowing 64 campaign to track. They allow 8 conversion event. Now on the PCM, there is 16 event. Before the change, if you click from a web, from an app, such as Facebook or Twitter, to a website, there wasn't any tracking information. The new PCM allow this tracking. Now, it just happened yesterday. So take the number of 8, it might be 16 event. We still don't know it. We're waiting to get the public information from Facebook, but we can assume that there are going to be some changes around this. Right now, the official number is still 8 event. The retargeting will be possible. We still don't know regarding the size of the retargeting audiences. How this is going to impact you? Eventually, when you talk about your media buying process, Facebook, they're doing amazing job in their optimization. They have a very brilliant algorithm. They're having tons of machine learning engineers. Facebook going to have way less data on the people that convert on your site. You have to take this under consideration. The results for your Facebook campaign will probably be less good than you're experiencing now. You as a marketer, when you're going to analyze your data, you're going to have way less data than you're having now. We're talking about no ad reporting. In some of the cases, even not an ad set reporting. We're talking about no breakdown for advertisers. You will need to work within Facebook on way less data than you have today. We're going to see a huge drop within the views for conversion. Cross-device tracking, it's going to be way harder to match the specific user ID on device A to the same specific user ID on device B. Up until now, we just had like the Facebook user ID, and it was really easy to match them. Now it's going to be way harder. It's going to be way harder for us to test creative. We're not going to have the data on the end limit. We're not going to have the data. We're not going to have the data on the end limit, and this coming along with the limited number of ads for advertisers. And we're going to see a smaller size of the retargeting audiences. So what can you do? What are the actions that you as a marketer can do starting today? First, learn and prepare. This is one of the heaviest change that we have seen for Facebook advertisers. I'm already seeing the reactions of people and we're going to see them way more, why do I have less conversions? Why my campaign are not working? I are not working. You can be in the complaining side within 2-3 months, or you can be prepared and to still be able to work under those platforms. This is your choice, but you have to make the effort to learn this right now. You need to take more responsibility on your campaign. You need to understand your audiences, to segment them, to build the right conversion events. You can't only, like Facebook really want, let's take a huge chunk of audiences and let our algorithm do the job. Anyone who running campaigns for websites going to struggle with this problem. And I think the bottom line today, you can't count only on Facebook. If Facebook right now is your main media channel, you need to understand first, not to count on Facebook solely within the reporting. And I would definitely encourage you to look for an additional media channels. DSP can be native, it can be other platforms to expand your media channels, because marketers that deriving their traffic to websites going to have problem working only within Facebook. Some of the actions you do need to do right now. First of all, to verify your domain for Facebook. A domain that won't be verified won't be able to work at all. You will have the links how to verify your domain and your business. The second step, you can already choose what are your top 8 events. You can do it within the event manager. You have a section for aggregated web measurement. And the biggest recommendation on the technical perspective, put the efforts to report your conversion via the conversion API, which is the Facebook server to server interface, and to share the data from your CRM directly to Facebook via the offline conversions. Marketers who will do this will probably be able to analyze their campaign better. It won't be in a 100% match rate and not even close, but they will get sufficient data to understand how their ads are performing. When this will happen, one of the largest questions that I'm getting, we actually, only a few days ago, Apple actually gave the answer. It's going to be early spring. So probably during next month, we will start seeing those changes. I see that half of you already started to work with the conversion API, which is fantastic. For the rest, go implement the conversion API. What are the changes that you can do within your media channels? There are some very specific changes that that you can already do today. First, you need to ask yourself, very good, what is your one highest priority event? Everyone's saying going to the purchase, but I would like to encourage you to think about it a bit, because, and to do it in one of the two cases. If you have a very high conversion rate from Facebook directly, not from the people who search for your brand, from Facebook, it's definitely something I would encourage you to do. If you're having a lower conversion rate, but you're seeing over 250 conversions for each ad set each week, only for iOS devices, it's definitely something I would encourage you to do. Facebook's saying they need at least 50 conversions, that they're having the data on them, the full data, in order to optimize your media. If you have less than this, go and set the highest priority event to a place that you have enough data. It can be add to cart, it can be time on site, It can be a solution such as Fixel. It can be any solution that eventually telling you this is a high quality visitor. Because if we will examine, we will see we have in one hand, we have clicks, and clicks are not saying a lot. Freaks have a lot of clicks only, have a lot of fraud. Most of the ad platform know how to optimize toward clickers, and it doesn't necessarily they are buyers. In the other hand, we have purchase, which is what we want to achieve. But if we don't have enough data to send to Facebook, and remember, the reporting for some of the purchase will be modeled. And doing, for example, a model conversion or model purchase event, if you won't have enough data or enough conversion rate, you will get the wrong number. So go for something in the middle. Go to say this is a high quality audience, and and optimize and set this one as your main event that will be reported even for opt-out users. Um, how you can overcome the new ad limit within these boundaries? First of all, you will have to start consolidate audiences and creative. The second one, in many cases, we all the way I saw it, we have a lot of marketers that having a lot of winners. Those are my best campaign. Those are my best ads. Keep using them. If you have ads or ads that doesn't work very well compared to your other ads, turn them off. We have in many cases campaigns that we're saying, yeah, they are a nice to have campaign. They will maybe work. Turn those campaigns off. Focus on the high quality. And the other trick is just to open new Facebook and new Instagram pages for each marketing activity. It will, of course, have a lot of engagement, problem within the engagement and with the organic exposure. And I will say the way we're seeing Facebook, if a lot of advertisers will do it, we will see they're starting to make limit on the ad account level or the business manager level. So I wouldn't say this is a strategy for me and a company and going to count on it for 2021. But temporarily, yes, you can do it right now. Something very, very important. The assumption is that if Facebook will blocked, Google Analytics will always will part of Google Analytics will be blocked. So what we are offering you, first of all, measure also on Google Analytics the results, but more importantly, measure your campaign results within your CRM and within your e-commerce platform. For me as a marketer, it feels that we're going like 10 years back, talking only about click measurement. But we have to understand directly within the CRM and the e-commerce platform that we do not assess, they will get blocked. Which channel, which placement derive us the right conversion? You cannot count on the Facebook reporting solely. It will be nice for some of the optimization, but when you have to make the decision, you will have to go back to the Shopify or WooCommerce or Magento interface to make sure that you're collecting as much as campaign data that you can to your platform. And this should be your main analysis tool. Every marketers that have automated rules, and I would strongly suggest you to have them because they're great. Go and revisit and just go to your automated rules and rebuild them. Some of the marketers will probably separate the campaign between iOS and non-iOS, or iOS, Android, and desktop devices. A lot of marketers will have different techniques, but the numbers that we will get right now for iOS devices going to be different than the Android devices. We do not want to reduce the spending for iOS users because they're still very high quality visitors And we do want to make sure we will not turn off campaigns running on iOS just because of the PCM. So go estimate your numbers. Go do it by your CRM or e-commerce platform data, and then build your rules. Now, talking a bit about, just 1 second. So talking a bit about going like 10 years back, about for the click measurement. This is something we definitely seeing. We're seeing people try to analyze within their CRM, within the analytics, less views through data. But what is the tip that I can give you right now? Eventually, we're seeing more and more statistical modeling that allow us, not in an accurate way, but in a ballpark way, to figure out what is the impact of our media buying. And we make here an example. One side, we have the GA data or your CRM data or your Shopify app data. In the blue one, we have the Facebook. So if I, for example, I'm seeing the same reporting for a 7-day click in both of them, I have the views through data, and the views through data have their weight. We can't ignore them. And in the 1-day click, I see 100 here and 100 there. The reality is that when we will look on the data for Facebook, between Facebook and Google, we will see 300 conversions in Facebook and 150 conversions in Google Analytics. It means that in this case, we can assess, and we need to do it separately, for example, from our data-driven and for a cold audience and for search and for display and so on. We have to understand those numbers to build the group, the main group of audiences and creative that we're using, and to each one of this to try to understand what our ballpark. Your ballpark can be 150%, and your ballpark can be 600%. This is okay. You have to understand. And then, for example, if you see you have 200% or 2x, when you will see you spend $1,000 ads, and then you get 10 purchases, you can estimate that you can actually get 20 purchases that came from organic, from your newsletter, but it supported much more sales than what you're seeing. And you and take the time now to calculate your ballpark numbers. Summarizing this part, eventually, the conversion campaign to website are going to be much more complicated. This is your responsibility to take the time to learn, to prepare, to constantly listen and to understand the updates. Those 8 events might be 16 tomorrow. We still don't know. But when we will understand what's happening, it will be really easy for us to make all the necessary adjustments. If you remember this on the end of March, we will have problem managing our campaign, and we will lose money. Now you need to go take the time. We're going to send you some reading materials if you want from our blog that you can work on. Keep continuing the summary. You can't silo your Facebook activity. You can just not right for you, and you have to plan your post PCM campaigns today. Now I will hand off this to Elad, that will have a quick chat with Yehushua, that have an amazing brand. Elad.
Hey, woke me up now. So here, I'll take the lead and share my presentation here. Okay, so first off, as a thank you for participating, we'll be happy to offer a significant offer here for Fixel. So anyone who comes in and signs up to our pro plans will have a significant discount of 50%. This is unique for this webinar. You have the coupon code here, and you'll also get these slide decks so you can take it off from the deck itself. Now, Yehoshua, and you can't see him blushing, still hasn't opened his camera, but he's the co-founder and CTO at Modli. They're a modest fashion marketplace. That's a big thing, apparently. They've launched in February 2015, been growing fantastically since, and trust me, I've seen their analytics stats. They're doing quite an exceptional work in the different advertising that they're doing. Working in multiple different geos and on multiple different platforms, and really being able to drive fantastic growth across the board consistently for quite a long time now. So, Yehoshua.
Hi.
Hey.
Number one, I think you guys have to start my video because it's not letting me start the video. It has to be done by the host. Okay. So, great. Did that work?
That works fantastically, yeah. Cool. So first thing, if you can give a few words about Modli. I believe the majority of people here wouldn't know your brand yet.
Okay, so we started back in 2015, which we are a marketplace for modest fashion. We have about 100 sellers on the site. With time, we've shifted from selling a bunch of different categories, mostly in the US. We've shifted to selling all over the world. We currently have 4 different languages, 8 active websites in over 30 different countries. We've grown from a team of just me and Nava 5 years ago to a team of currently almost 35 employees, 20 out of Israel. And yes, we've seen a lot of growth also specifically through this past year of COVID. But also we've been seeing over 100% growth year over year since we started the company. And we actually rely quite heavily on Facebook. Facebook is one of our main advertising channels. I'd say between Google and Facebook, they're both quite equal, but that's about 85 or 90% of our advertising together, those two giants. And yes, we're very concerned about the changes that are being made. And we're keeping a close eye and trying to figure out how we could prepare properly.
Cool. So one question that I wanted to start off with is a bit about what your current spread, in a sense, is. We're seeing all these limitations being applied to the ad accounts, all these 250 or however many ads limit. Are you reaching that limit? How are you building your account within these kind of boundaries?
So we're concerned about the limit. Luckily, we do have a bit of a higher spend, so we're going to have a limit of about 1,000 ads. But we operate in a bunch of different markets, and every single market we do have separate campaigns and separate ads. And we are now considering moving in multiple countries or multiple audiences into the same campaigns, just to kind of decrease that amount and not have that issue. So yes, that is something we're looking into. Usually we have 5 to 10 campaigns in a specific country, but each one of those campaigns can have 50 ads, and we're probably not going to be able to continue the same way we're doing today.
For sure. And you're operating, or your store operates under a single domain for multiple geos, right?
Yes.
So that's definitely going to be an issue with the upcoming changes regarding the domain level limitations on ad accounts and pixels.
True. So today we track many events on the site. We track from product view to add to cart, and also we track custom dimensions or custom metrics in each one of those events. For example, the value and what type of product they added, and a lot of different information over there. Going forward, we can only track now, it looks like 16 events, but that's across all of our accounts. we might have to, and today we have multiple Facebook accounts for every single site. We might have to actually consolidate all of our accounts into one account and focus maybe on only two different events, probably focusing on add to cart and purchase.
It's going to be quite a schlep for sure.
Yes.
Now, another interesting question. I know you have some very nice tactics about breaking down your audiences between top of the funnel, people that are getting to know your brand, and people that are more down funnel. Can you elaborate a bit about these?
Yep. So top funnel, we usually try to focus on a more inspirational kind of ads to kind of get people connected to the brand. So usually the photo shoots are not going to be in a studio. They'll be outside. There'll be videos. They'll be interesting. They'll be engaging, but they're not going to focus on a specific product. We're not trying to sell you a product. We're trying to sell you a brand. And we'll measure those campaigns by sign up to newsletters, by add to carts, but by the kind of initial events. We'll also look at purchases, but we'll give that not as high of a grade in terms of what we care about. Mm-hmm. And then down the funnel, we start looking at, we do a lot more of DPA campaigns, display product ad campaigns, where we're actually showing our products and trying to sell a product. It'll be much more promotional, 20% off and so on, and free shipping. And kind of now that you know our brand, you've connected to the brand, you understand who we are, we're trying to actually get you to make a sale now. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what we do in the lower funnel. Mm-hmm. We are very concerned about a lower funnel now that we might not have that connection between the upper funnel and the lower funnel like we have today. For example, everything to do with remarketing and DPA is not clear today if we're going to be able to show you the products you viewed in the site, and how much we'll be able to track there and how much data we'll be able to get and if it will be relevant. So that is very concerning to us.
For sure. The current, I'd say, setup that PCM presents from the Apple side, at least, we're still unsure how this will translate into Facebook, but pretty much they'll report a number, some digit that will be represented as an event within Facebook, and that's that. So purchase would be 08, for example, and you wouldn't have any purchase data. You wouldn't have the items, you wouldn't have the purchase value, you wouldn't have pretty much any of that. So that's reason for concern for sure.
Yes, definitely is.
Cool. Another question I wanted to ask is about the conversions API. We've seen Facebook has been really kind of promoting, and anyone who's been working with a Facebook rep has been really kind of being stressed about using conversions API and adding that to your tracking kind of infrastructure. Where do you guys stand on it?
So we implemented a conversions API on our stage, and we're going to be deploying it hopefully next week after thorough testing. We've been working on it for a few weeks now. We've decided to send two separate events on the conversions API. The two most important events to us, which is the add to cart and the purchase. Mm-hmm. If we will have more events to send, if they make more than 16 events, or if we consolidate the accounts, or however we decide to do it, we might decide to send other events later on. For example, product views or newsletter signups or something else.
Okay, and how complex was getting this, up and running, or at least to the staging level there?
It took time. I think the debugging kind of takes some time. It's a new product, or nobody in our team knew how to even debug it and check it. So it's kind of the QA team had to learn, like, how do they check it? How do they test it on Facebook? Mm-hmm. But it's working. I wouldn't say it was a complex task, but it took time.
Cool. Did you use any partner, Integromat or Zapier, or any such third-party tool, or full-blown development?
Well, full-blown development.
Hardcore.
We've kind of built an infrastructure for everything, also for Google Analytics or for any other offline event we can want to send. We've currently built infrastructure for add to cart and for purchase, and we can add more tags pretty easily. We built an infrastructure that knows how to take the information from the front end, send it to the back end. For example, if it's a user agent and the IP and so on. And then we can use those variables in the back end to send any of the order information or the add to cart information. And we'll build out that infrastructure as we need.
Amazing. I've seen other platforms now, Outbrain and Taboola and others are also promoting this solution as well. Cool. And my final question, and this I know because I've been working with you guys in the past, you have some interesting metrics that you've been using out of your sleeve there. And there's one specifically I'd want to touch on because we're really short on time. So that's kind of your golden metric there. If you can share, I'd be very happy.
Yeah, okay. So except for kind of tracking what everyone tracks is conversion rate and AOV and so on, we created a new metric. It's called a calculated metric. That what we do is we wanted to know every single product, give it a dollar value. And we wanted to know, for example, if every visitor that visits that product page, how much is he worth in dollars? So what we did is we created a calculated metric, a very simple metric, that what it does is it takes the average of the product of the average price of the product sold times the conversion rate of the product, or how many times people that added that cart actually, people that visited the page made a purchase, and we got a dollar metric for every single one of our products. And it allowed us to really be able to understand which products are bringing high value compared to which products are bringing or not bringing high value, and focus on the products that are bringing high value, and not actually the products that are bringing most of the sales. And we found a lot of products that were hidden in the back, but they were very valuable in terms of maybe only 10 customers were getting to that page or getting to that product, but three out of 10 customers were actually buying it.
Right.
And that was a game changer for us.
For sure. And I think as a big Google Analytics fan, this is significantly more interesting than using the plain page value metric that they have, for sure. And I see we have one last question here from Eric. Regarding the remarketing campaigns, given that these are going to be highly impacted, probably, what would be your kind of plan there?
Marketing campaigns.
If this goes into up in flames,
I don't know yet. We'll have to figure it out, I guess, as time goes on and see how it impacts the remarketing campaigns. I don't know.
Cool. Fingers crossed. This will be resolved in a way that is favorable to advertisers while still keeping privacy for the users. So there's still a way to go with Apple and Facebook. Thank you very much, Yehushua. I'll hand it back
to
for having me, Etgar.
Yehushua, thank you very much. So anyone, if you have questions, I know this is late and we have like only 3 minutes and we want to respect your time. So if you have any questions, feel free to write them now. I will just say, I saw the people here. I saw your questions. I think they're great. Everyone, you will get a recording out of this webinar. Feel free to share it. You can, Elad, if you can just like show our email. We're all here for you at Team at Fixel. And I had a great time. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Have a great day.